Once again, we say good Shabbos to everyone. Welcome, family and friends who have joined us this evening, those who have joined us online as well as in person. Again, as I said at the outset of the service, Happy New Year. We pray that it will be a good year for everyone. We need a good streak, and we'll see if we can get that started. This week's Torah portion is the Sedra of Vayigash. And Vayigash means that we are 1 week away from concluding the book of Breshit. That's hard to believe. It seems like we just got started, and now we're finishing it and moving on to the book of Exodus. There is so much in the book of Genesis, it's almost like we don't want to put it aside. There are so many different lessons, and we certainly don't have enough time to explore it on a weekly basis, but that's the challenge we have. Maybe that's why we read it every single year, so we get to review those stories again and look for the many different nuances, the meanings that speak to us this year but didn't speak to us last year or the year before. And so the text and we stay alive and are in a dynamic relationship with the text. So this week's Sedra is, in fact, Vayigash, the penultimate text, the Sedra, before we conclude the book of Breshit, the book of Genesis. So what makes this week's Sedra so unique? This is the moment where Joseph reveals his identity as a leader of the Egyptian world to his brothers. This is when it happens. It's this is the buildup of this incredibly intriguing plot line that is so circuitous. And lo and behold, finally, the boys make their plea to their brother. Remember, this is the brother who had thrown the brothers who threw their one brother into the pit, sold him to a caravan, and said, "Away with you. We've had enough with you. We've had to grow up with you being the favored son, and you sort of reminding us of that every time we turned around. You're on your own." And now these young men, representing their extended family, have journeyed from Israel down to the land of Egypt. Why? Right, famine. Right, because there was a famine in the land of Israel. And so representing their extended family, they appeal to Pharaoh, but in the name of Pharaoh, who are they appealing to? Joseph, their brother. Are you going to save us? Are you going to look beyond what we did to you a few years ago? Or, in fact, are you going to find the ability to welcome us? That in itself is an extraordinary subject to be explored. Imagine yourself in that position. How would you respond? And Joseph rises above his initial sense of revenge and first identifies who he is, and then takes them in. Of course, there's still some more intrigue, right? He said, because Benjamin is held back, apparently, right? Because he has some stolen goods. And anyways, it's many different layers of the story that reveal how intriguing all the elements are. So as Judah, who he's the spokesperson. He is speaking on behalf of the family to Joseph. And he is presenting his case. He uses this phrase when referring to Benjamin, the precious young child, that is not going to be going back to meet his father. So Jacob will have lost both his youngest children, Joseph as well as Benjamin. Now, Judah is appealing to him and appealing to Joseph. How can you do this to our father, Jacob? And he uses this beautiful phrase in tomorrow morning's Sedra that I hope everyone will kind of put in their back pocket, at least for a week, and think about the beauty of this phrase. And the phrase is Nafsho Keshurah B'nafsho. What is nefesh? Soul. Exactly. His soul is tied up in his soul. And it's a beautiful, beautiful phrase. How can you do that to my father? Benjamin's soul is tied up with his father's soul. And you can't begin to put him through that pain. He's already been through the pain of losing his favored son, Joseph. And so, as you can imagine, that phrase, Nafsho Keshurah B'nafsho, is what we like to call a pregnant clause, because it reveals so many different layers of meaning. And one of the great medieval commentators known as Radak, he suggests that Jacob's soul will actually leave him if his brothers return to Egypt without Benjamin. And the idea is that the word Keshurah is what we use when we refer to a knot, is a Keshurah. And so one soul is tied up with the other soul. They're knotted together. When you think of that, what do you think of in terms of people? Marriage, husband and wife, anything else? Exactly, all the relationships that we have. And as I was reading this Sedra and thinking about this concept, Nafsho Keshurah B'nafsho, I was thinking that how many rabbis across the world today are speaking about the hostages in terms of this phrase. Not only their families, but all of us. We can't be in the skin of the family members, but we are an extended family. And our soul is tied up with those souls. And it's a powerful vision and such a beautiful statement about how we see our relationship with each other. And we challenge ourselves again and again to put ideas into words. And so often we find words that really capture thoughts for us. I think this is one of those. This is one of those where we hope that every husband and wife, every parent and child, every relationship between one another will carry a certain sense of meaning that Martin Buber referred to as an I-thou relationship. That's what we strive for, that we never take advantage of another person, but we see each other for who and what they represent. And that's a wonderful idea to work toward, to envision, to constantly strive for. And I hope that all of us will be able to use this text that began with Joseph putting aside his sense of history, the pain that he must have had for years regarding what his brothers had done to him, and said, I'm going to move beyond that. I'm not going to carry that with me for the rest of my life. And now I have the opportunity to play an extraordinary role in their lives, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, and reunite my family. Shabbat Shalom.